So welcome, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. So nice to see you. And this is our Zen Peacemaker Circle format. And we try to do one of these every week. Most everybody here, I think, is either a member of Zen Peacemakers or certainly already is on the mailing list. If you're not, be sure to go to the website and just sign up for the newsletter. We send it out once a week, and it'll just let you know what the upcoming events are. And we're trying to do a lot of events. Last year, I was just looking at this for the end of the year reporting. Last year, we did about 54 events like this, and including council and some other things too. We've done over 100 this year. So I don't think we can add many more. I think poor Chloe is probably stretched to her limit. So, and we're filling up the calendar, but we're going to try to keep this kind of variety going. So I want to welcome and introduce our friend Elias Dase from the Holy Land Trust. And we've had a chance to talk a couple of times, and I'm really looking forward to what Elias has to say today to us, to share about the work that he's doing and the circumstances and the situation where he lives. Elias helped us arrange with someone he knows. Elias, I don't know if Saeed is from Bethlehem or where he lives, probably nearby Bethlehem.
Yeah, he's from Bethlehem. He's a good mind. Yeah.
Our friend Saeed joined the Auschwitz Bearing Witness Retreat with the help of a number of Zen Peacemaker members. Some are here in this meeting today, members who helped with logistics and travel and, visa and hotel and food and all those things. So it was wonderful. And yeah, Elias and I were just talking. We're going to want to try to do this again next year, to bring somebody from Palestine to the Auschwitz retreat. It's just such an intimate connection for many, many reasons. So I am going to mute myself now and welcome Elias and let him take the microphone and share his story with us today. So once again, thank you all. Good to see you, and let's be together here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for giving me this space to share and to speak. Really, we honor and we respect all our friends and from the international community that they're willing to listen. This is actually part of our hope, that we see hope when we have people like you are willing to hear the stories and to hear the voices from this land. So good evening it's an evening time here, and good morning for everyone all over the world. And I'm speaking from Bethlehem in Palestine, the West Bank. For those who never been here, I am living in the city of Bethlehem, just like few miles south of Jerusalem, the holy city. My name is Elias Dase, which is the English and the biblical translation of my name is Elijah. In Arabic, it's Elias. And I was born and raised in this little town that we all call this little town of Bethlehem, but it's a very famous town. Yeah, everyone knows this famous character who was born in the city 2,000 years ago. but we all celebrate the Christmas in a week from now, like few days from now. But unfortunately, this year we are not celebrating it for the second time since October 7th. That if you're here, there's no Christmas decoration, there's no tree, no lights. City is, full of sadness, of fear, people, pain, that there is no space for celebration for what's happening and what everybody is passing through this difficult time in the Holy Land. For me, as I am Palestinian, Arab Christian, and this is where I would love to start my introduction, sharing about my identity, that I am a Palestinian Arab Christian. And for most of the international community, they are not aware of the religious identities here in this land, the diverse community, diverse religion that we are all living in this land that we call it Holy Land. As I identify myself as an Arab because my ethnicity is Arabic. I was born in the Middle East. My mother tongue is Arabic, and my culture is belong to the Middle Eastern culture. So those who are living in the Middle East, they are Arabic. So they are Arabs. It's not it's like the same that in European, the Americans, Mexicans, Latinos, we are Arabs. And this has nothing to do with our religious and with our religion identity. And then I identify myself as a Palestinian because I was born in Palestine. I have the Palestinian ID, Palestinian passport. So my nationality is Palestinian. And then I am Christian, and I am Christian by faith. And I was born and raised in a Christian family. This has nothing to do with my Palestinian identity or with my Arabic ethnicity, because we have Palestinian Muslim, Palestinian Christians, and we have, the Jewish people are living in this land, but they are Israeli Jew. But for the international community, when I say I'm Palestinian Christian, the first question they got in their mind, like, when did you convert? And many of the international, mainly Americans and Europeans, they think that the local Christians in the Middle East being converted 100 or 200 years ago by one of the missionaries that they came from Europe. But I want to surprise you that it's the opposite way, that we converted you guys, or, the Christianity started here and we converted 2,000 years ago. During the time of Jesus and the first Christians, they converted from Judaism and paganism to Christianity. And from here, Christianity started spreading all over the world, to Europe, to the rest of the world. So I don't want to disappoint you, and disappoint some of you, that they think that the Christians here been converted by the new missionaries, that they come from Europe recently. That I believe that I have more Jewish blood than many of the Israelis that are living in Israel today, because we belong to the first Christians in this land. And this land is a very diverse land. The Holy Land has the Jewish community that now they are living in Israel. They have the Israeli ID, the Israeli passport, and we have also the Christian community that they are living in the West Bank, and we have also Christians living inside Israel that they are an Israeli Christian. We have Muslim community that they are also mixed and spread between Palestine and Israel. We have Israeli Muslim, Israeli Christians, and we have also Palestinian Muslim and Christians, but with different nationality and different IDs. And here maybe I can share, I show you, like, as a Palestinian, I have the green color ID. But in Israel, they have the blue color ID. And that's the only difference between Palestinian and Israeli, that we have two different colors of ID, that Palestinian are not allowed to live and go to Israel. And the opposite, the Israeli Jew are not allowed to come to Palestine. I don't know if some of you been here, but this is how, our situation here, that we have the Jewish, we have the Christians, we have the Muslim, and each one has different IDs and different nationality and different restrictions. That for me, as a Palestinian Christian living in the West Bank, I have no access to go to Jerusalem or go to Israel without getting an Israeli military permit. And this is what I want to talk more about it later. But yeah, that's actually my introduction, where I just want to share that the land here, the Holy Land, is a diverse community. We have also the Samaritan community. We have the Druze, we have the Baha'i, we have atheists, we have Buddhists, different belief system in this land. And we all call this land Holy Land. No one actually can give you a different answer. If you ask Muslims or Christians or Jew what this land means to you, they all will say, this is the land that was given to Abraham and his children from God. It was a gift from God to the people. And we are actually the people who are the transcended, like we are the children of Abraham, that we should respect and honor this land. As a Palestinian Christian, I don't want to say as a Palestinian Christian, but as a Palestinian, I was born and raised in Bethlehem in the year 1981, which is, in that time, the West Bank was fully under the Israeli military control. I don't know if you are aware and you have some information about the history. In 1948, with the establishment of the State of Israel, Israel was established on 75% of the historical, let's say, Palestine. The 25% left under the Jordanian mandate, which is the West Bank, and Gaza Strip remained under the Egyptian mandate from 1948 until 1967, when the Second War started, and Israel occupied the rest of the 25%, which is the West Bank and Gaza, adding to that the Golan Heights from Syria and Sinai from Egypt. So from 1967, the Palestinian living in the West Bank and Gaza, we've been under the Israeli military direct control. And when I was born and raised in this situation where I used to witness and see Israeli soldiers and Israeli military vehicles all over around my town, there was always demonstrations by Palestinians throwing stones on soldiers, carrying Palestinian flags, Israeli military always with their guns, shooting tear gas, shooting, rubber bullets and killing Palestinians. As a Palestinian Christian, I never actually got to understand what's happening and what is the situation here, why we are fighting, who are those Israeli soldiers that they speak Hebrew and they wear kippah and they have all these Jewish symbols. And for me, it was, like a big question, like, who are they? And for me, by default, those are the Israeli Jewish soldiers. And as a Christian, I used to go to the church every Sunday and, opening the Old Testament and pray and read the Psalms, the book of Psalms, and reading text that says, God bless those who bless Israel. And for me, as a Palestinian Christian, it was really an internal conflict between my belief system and between the reality that I'm living in. how can I bless those who are occupying me? And, I'm praying for those who are killing my fellows and my friends and my family. And my father was very active in that time against the Israeli military, by joining the civil disobedience, like where I live here in Beit Sahur, which is one of the cities around Bethlehem. They decided to start the civil disobedience in the 1988, 1987, where Palestinians refused to pay tax for the occupier. And they said, which is the famous American slogan, no taxation without representation. That the Palestinian Christian voice in that time was very clear that we are not paying a tax for the occupier unless we get equal rights. We want an equal right as a Palestinian with the Jewish people, that the Jewish people who are living in Israel, they have everything that they want, but the Palestinian, they get at the minimal services. Like we were not allowed to have telephone lines in our homes just for security reasons. But we are not allowed to, practice our normal and basic rights because we are Palestinian. Our education system was fully controlled by the Israeli military system. And we used to pay the tax without getting any services. So the Palestinians at that time decided to start the first intifada, which was, I was 8 or 9 years old when I experienced this intifada where Palestinians burned their IDs, and they decided they were calling for civil disobedience and equal rights. So for me, it was a big conflict. Like, how can I, practice my belief system as a Christian in the church and opening the Bible and read and pray for Israel. And Israel for me is the occupier and the enemy. And the second challenge was for me when Jesus said, love your enemy. And for me, loving you, my enemy, like, how can I love those with the big guns, and shooting and hitting and arresting my dad for several times. He was arrested because he was active in this nonviolent civil disobedience campaign. So I grew up with all these questions that I label all the Jew as an enemy. And this is actually the normal reaction of the Palestinian seeing the Jewish people as an enemy, because we are labeling the Jewish people with the Israeli military. And this is why, we need to be aware of that. I recently, actually, like just a few years ago, there was a transformational event in my life. I get being transformed, that I get to understand that the difference between Israel today and Israel in the Bible, and the Jude, and what is the difference between Judaism and occupation. There is a big difference between those two terms. But I'm giving you like the sense of how the Palestinians are observing and and receiving and seeing the Israel today, that Israel represents all the Jewish people, and all the Israeli military are the Jewish people, and they speak Hebrew, they practice their Judaism, and they are occupying us. So they are all our enemy. After this, period of the first intifada, the Palestinian Authority and the Israeli government, and with under the the American administration, they reached to our first peace agreement, which was in 1994, and we called it the Oslo Accord, the Oslo Agreement that was signed in 1994, which was, giving the Palestinian the right to establish their own state. They were talking about two-state solution, that the Palestinian will live in the West Bank and Gaza with their own administration and their own state, and Israel will remain as it is in 1948, which is the 75% of the land. But the surprise was, for me as I was like 13 years old in that time. For me, that was, yes, that's finally the hope that finally we're going to have a state. Finally, we're going to live in freedom. There is no occupation, no military. And that was the time when everyone started to see hope. But unfortunately, just few months after the peace agreement, we started to see a new fact on the ground. Israel started to implement new facts on the ground that broke the hope, in our life, that which was, the first things that Israel did after 1994, like after signing the peace agreement, is building more settlement, Israeli settlement in the West Bank. And one of the settlement was built just in front of my neighborhood, just not far away from here, that we can see it in the hilltop, that was built in 1997, just 3 years after signing the peace agreement and the expanding of settlement. The Palestinians started to feel that there is no hope for two-state solution where Palestinian can live side by side with the Israeli. We are having more Israeli settlers living within the Palestinian territories. The second, facts on the ground was giving the Palestinian the green color ID and keeping the blue color ID for the Israeli, which means that if you have the green color ID, you are not allowed to leave the West Bank and go to Jerusalem anymore. You have to cross checkpoints. So there was a restrictions of movement on Palestinian traveling from West Bank to Jerusalem or Israel. Before, like when I was a child, I used to go with my mom every Sunday after church. We used to go to Jerusalem by bus, which is, like 30, 40 minutes drive. We used to go buy whatever we need for the week, fresh vegetables, things that come back. But after 1990, after the peace agreement, we are not allowed to do that anymore. Like we need to get an Israeli military permit, which is kind of impossible to get it as a Palestinian. You need to have one of the three reasons if you want to travel to Jerusalem or if you want to go to Israel. The first, that you need to have a work contract with an Israeli company, that you as a Palestinian, you have job in Israel and you need to prove that and apply for a work contract, a work permit. The second reason, that if you are sick, if you need any medical treatment which is not available in the Palestinian hospitals, you can get appointment with the hospital and can get a medical permit. And the third permit is religious holidays. And what does it mean, religious holidays? Like if you are a Palestinian Christian, you are allowed to apply for a permit to go to Jerusalem twice a year, once during Easter and once during Christmas. And there is a certain time of the year that you can live there, which is, like 2 weeks during Christmas, 2 weeks during Easter. This year, we are not getting permits because of what's happening in Gaza. There is no permit allowed at all. And for the Muslim, they give them permits only during the holy month of Ramadan. So imagine these restrictions of movement, expanding of settlement, and they can list all other things. I need maybe 2 hours to mention all these realities that we are living in after the peace agreement, which make it more difficult for Palestinians to think about the possibility of two-state solution. How can we live in a two-state solution without any freedom? Like there is more military control, more restrictions. If I want to travel abroad, for example, I've been to the US and I've been several places. I'm not allowed to travel from Tel Aviv airport, from Israel. Oh, the Palestinians are allowed to travel only from Jordan, that we have to cross the border with Jordan, the land border, travel from Amman airport. And this takes more time and effort, like we need to be there at least one day before our flight. Plus, all the water control, electricity, everything. So these realities actually created a lot of depression and frustration among the Palestinians that there is no hope for the future to have two-state solution. And the main obstacle for that is the occupation. And the occupation, ending the occupation is a priority. We are not talking about, we are not against the state of Israel, or we are not against the Jewish people, but we are now calling to end the direct Israeli military occupation on the West Bank and Gaza Strip. So this is actually what made that was the time during the peace agreement. That was the time when Holy Land Trust, the organization I work with, was founded in 1998. 1998 was the time when few Palestinian visionary, I can say, started to think what is really missing to achieve peace between Israel and Palestine. We tried all means of resistance, and we tried the peace agreement, we tried negotiation, but nothing is working. And now it's the time to think about what is the real strategy that we need to take to build real and just peace for everyone in this land. Because again, I want to bring it again, this topic, like if you ask the Jewish people, the Muslim and the Christian, what does this land means to you? They will all say, this is the Holy Land. It's not a place holier, it's not a holy place for the Jew more than Muslim or vice versa. Everyone has the right to live here freely, practice their own freedom and their own religion freely, without fear, without restrictions. So we are, as an organization, started to think about this solution, and we are trying to understand what is the main causes of violence between Israelis and Palestinians. What is the where this violence come from? And we look at it, if you look at the history, the timeline of the history timeline, before 1948, Jews, Muslim, and Christian used to live together as neighbors in Jerusalem, Haifa, Bethlehem. They were all equals here, living together as neighbors without any fear, without hate, without any tension. But when the state of Israel was established, it was established in a way that created a shift or a gap between the Arabs and the Jews. And here we are bringing and we are addressing the historical trauma that existed in that time. If you look, Israel was established in 1948. But the Jewish people in that time, they were eager and they were looking for a safe place to live. Because what happened to the Jewish people in the Holocaust and in Europe, it was a very terrifying, very horrific event that the Jewish people are traumatized, and they were just looking for a safe place to live without any fear. And they say never again. And when Israel was established in 1948, it was the answer, and it was a response to the needs of the Jewish people to have a safe place protected by a military. And they got one in 1948. But unfortunately, with the establishment of the State of Israel, created another trauma, another collective and individual trauma on the Palestinian side, because the State of Israel was created on, violence and killing and, destruction and expelling Palestinians from their own homes and destroying more than 500 villages that now it's an Israeli town. And there were like 700,000 Palestinians left their homes and they became refugees until today. And that actually was the shift. When the Palestinians and the Arabs, they started to look at the Jewish people as a threat to their existence and to their rights in this land. And here we are talking about a new trauma that was created. And and this trauma is manifesting in a different way, by depression, anger, hate, and anxiety, and actually lack of trust. That the Palestinian now, they do not trust their Jewish neighbors that they used to live with them in the past, couple hundred of years. And now those neighbors, now they are our enemy. And for us as a Palestinian and as an organization, now we are addressing this trauma, the collective trauma that exists in the Palestinian and in the Israeli society, that without healing and transforming this trauma, we cannot achieve peace. And our, governments need to address this need, because when they were talking about the two-state solution, they were just talking about, political solution that not responding to the needs of the local people. That we need to understand that the Jewish people need safety, they need security. At the same time, the Jewish people need connection with their historical land, which is the biblical side here, and they have to practice their religion freely without fear. But on the other side, the Jewish people need also to understand and respect the needs of the Palestinian Christians and Jew and Muslim, that they have to practice their religion freely without fear and without, restrictions. And they need to understand my right as a Palestinian Christian that I need to go every Sunday to my church in Jerusalem to pray without checkpoints, without restrictions of movement, and without permits. And I need to understand also the right of the Jewish people to come to that biblical site in the West Bank, in Hebron, Jerusalem. But this topic never been, addressed in the negotiation between Palestinian and Israeli. They were just talking about the frame of the solution, like how the state will look like, about borders, about economy relationship, about security, but they never talked about how the state will look like. So as an organization, when I joined Nonlinear Trust in 2007, that was actually my transformational journey. When I got to understand there was a big difference between Judaism and Israel today and the occupation. And Israel does not represent all the Jewish people in this world. Like what Israel is doing is misusing Judaism by keeping the occupation and dehumanization the Palestinians every day in Palestine and in Israel. And I don't want to talk a lot, I can share all of many stories and experiences I went through. Like one of my first experience joining Holy Land Trust was hosting an American Jewish delegation that they wanted to come and visit the West Bank for their first time. And the purpose of that is an encounter trip where an American Jew decided to come and encounter the Palestinian, to learn more about the Palestinian and what's happening in the West Bank. And for me, it was a big shock for me to meet Jewish people. Because for me, back in my childhood and my trauma, my own trauma, that Jewish people are enemy. Jewish people are, they are, I felt, unsafe when I went to meet Jewish people, because this my, traumatic event from my childhood, that all the Jewish are the enemy. But that actually was my first step of transformation when I got to distinguish between Judaism and Israel today. And later on, I decided I was invited, by the way, to join the Zen Peacemaker retreat in Auschwitz and Birkenau in 2014. And I went there and it was a milestone in my life. It was a very intimate connection. When I was in Auschwitz and Birkenau, for me, it was a very mixed feeling, as a Palestinian going there, because, for me, back in my mind, I am betraying my people, because I'm coming here to show solidarity with my enemy and with my occupier. But for me, it was a journey of eye-opening and life transformation to really understand where is the root cause of pain and the root cause of fear among the Jewish people who are living in Israel. And it was an eye-opening for me to understand why the Jewish people are acting like that in Israel today. Because what happened to them in the past, they say never again. And we also say never again, but for everyone. That it was a very, for me, I was really surprised seeing all the teenagers from Israeli schools coming to Auschwitz, carrying their Israeli flag and going inside with their Israeli teachers. And they are teaching them this was happened to your ancestor and never again. And imagine this fresh mind children, they come to Auschwitz and then they go back to Israel and they directly start the military service. And after joining the military service, they come to the West Bank and they stand on the checkpoint, pointing the guns on the Palestinians because we are the threat of their existence. And they look at me as I am a threat to their existence, and I am against their existence in Israel. So it was an eye-opening for me as a Palestinian to understand where this, fear and violence comes from, and what is my responsibility as a Palestinian to take a healing and transformation journey, and what is my responsibility. And now, after my trip to Auschwitz, I got to understand what did Jesus meant by loving your enemy. Because loving my enemy for me, when I was a child, I understand that I want to go to the soldier and give them flower, or maybe give them, a gift. But loving your enemy in Christianity means that you need to go into deep healing and transformation with your enemy. You need to put yourself in the shoes of your enemy and to understand the pain and the suffering of your enemy. And you need to also help them to heal and transform and, this pain. And this is why after my trip to Auschwitz, I dedicated my life to this organization, Holy Land Trust. And we've been developing this healing trauma program that inviting Israeli and Palestinian to come together in a healing journey where we create a safe space for Israeli and Palestinian to talk as a human without any identity, without any lenses, just to be there using nonviolent communication. And you know what is nonviolent communication? Just to listen with an open heart, without judgment, and just to need to hear the pain and the suffering of the others. And we find out after all these retreats that we are both victims of this system, that the Palestinian suffering is equal to the Israeli suffering. There is no difference between human suffering. In all conditions, we're all equal. And we need to be aware of this, that we are all victims, and we know we need to honor and respect our connection with this land, that we should celebrate this diverse communities, diverse culture, diverse language that we are living here. And I have to honor the right of my Jewish friend celebrating his feast in this land as well. They celebrate my feasts here. So Holy Land Trust been dedicating it. Actually, we are one of the first Palestinian organizations that addressing this trauma healing program and talking about the collective trauma healing, that before talking about peace, we need to talk about healing the trauma in our life as an individual and as a collective. And, so now Holy Land Trust is working in three main categories. Like first is transformation, where we focus on personal and collective transformation using nonviolence as our main philosophy. And we have developed many tools like nonviolence communication, nonlinear leadership training. And we always say our slogan is transforming trauma into hope. Like, how can we respond to this trauma and transforming it into hope? Showing solidarity with the people here is hope. Standing with the victims is hope. Supporting family that they don't have money to buy their, food for children is hope. And that's actually what we do. Like we respond to the needs of the local people. We respond to the needs of the victims, and we are the voice of the voiceless, because that's why we do our advocacy program, where we collect all the stories from the local people and share it with our international community. Because I always say, I just was saying this to Jeff in the beginning, that if you read 100 books about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, you will never understand the reality until you come and meet people. You hear the stories and you hear the pain. And this is what we do as Holy Land Trust. We have our travel and encounter program where we organize trips for international to come and meet local community. Tomorrow I'm taking American delegation to Hebron City, to South Hebron Health, to meet locals and to hear the stories and to witness the reality by their hand, on their eyes. The third program is the empowerment, where we empower the community by providing them with whatever they need. Like one of our main project is rebuilding Palestinian homes demolished by the Israeli military. So imagine a Palestinian family, their home is demolished by the Israeli military. There's a new trauma to this family. They are traumatized. The children are traumatized. The parents, they feel desperate. They have no place to go. And when we come as an organization and we tell them we're going to build your house in the same place, same size, as a non-violence action with our international support and our international fund, it just, feel just a relief. Like the family is transformed in a positive way, that they will never think about revenge or, like any negative feelings. Recently, we have developed our art therapy project because an organization, we believe in the power of art, and we are working with children since October 7th. We developed a program with children using art as a tool to release all our anger, freedom of expression, creating a safe space for children to release their pain and stress and anger. Because we witnessed, an increased number of traumatic children and even adults after October 7th. And this actually what is our response now, and then, helping the Palestinian community for resilience, for hope, responding to the needs. This week we had 6 activities for the children with special needs, providing them with Christmas gifts. Like now we are providing 100 families in Bethlehem with food parcels during Christmas. That those families, like in Bethlehem, lost 80% of their general income since October 7th, because Bethlehem depends on tourism. Hotels are closed, restaurants are closed, tour guides, they have no jobs, souvenir shops. So our responsibility as an organization to respond to these needs. So it's kind of showing solidarity is healing, and providing support is healing. I can maybe stop here for question because I can keep talking forever, but I don't know how we are doing with time. But maybe we
You're
can.
doing okay, Elias. You have plenty of time, so as you wish.
Okay, so yeah, just I want to, continue just showing like what we do as an organization now as before October 7th and after October 7th. Before October 7th, our main focus was, bringing Israeli Palestinian together in trauma healing, joining the resistance against the occupation, because we believe that it's very important for us to reach to the Israeli people to come and see what's happening on the West Bank and what's happening by the Israeli military. Many of the Israeli, they have no idea what is happening in the West Bank. They have no idea what is their government is doing, what is the apartheid regime that they are using in the West Bank. And our responsibility is to bring as much Israeli activists to the West Bank to join the Palestinian in their resistance against ending the occupation. And we have done several projects before October 7th. But after October 7th, our work has been shifted toward the Palestinian community for resilience. The Palestinian community now, they are very much in need of support, standing with their, providing them with the basic needs, humanitarian and emergency response. And this is what we've been doing since October, working with kids, with families, building homes in Area C, which were many homes being demolished, creating safe spaces, working with young students from universities on trauma healing, resilience, capacity building. And now also we need also support as as a staff. As a staff also, we've been affected by what happened in October 7th. We had a psychological effect that affected our resilience and ability to continue this war. So we have many issues like depression among the staff and anxiety, stress that is impacted our team and the capacity of our team. And now since 3 months ago, we've been working with an expert, trauma healing and emotional support for the staff to build resilience among Holy Land Trust team so we can continue doing what we are doing. So yeah, maybe I can open it for questions. We have some hands here. Like
Yes.
Mary.
Yes, Elias, Mary Lynn, have your hand up? Go ahead and open your microphone and.
Thank you. Thank you, Elias. I'm so moved. I have an idea for you. Bible journaling for those who are traumatized, where you would read scripture and people could react by by writing creatively. Right now in the United States, this is a huge trend. There is Torah journaling and there is Quran journaling. If you're meeting with both Israelis and Palestinians, scripture, Christian Bible journaling, and Torah journaling might be an idea you could integrate. People could react emotionally with their hearts through writing, and people could draw pictures. Kids could color.
Yeah.
Please accept this very humble offering
Thank you. Yeah, it's,
on behalf of your work. Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. And that's very important to thank you for suggesting that. And during our trauma healing program, we added this kind of more because during our trauma healing program, where we have Israeli and Palestinian, Muslim, Christian, and Jews, we invited a Jewish rabbi, a Muslim sheikh, and a Christian priest to open discussion about our connection with Islam. What does the Bible say about respecting the others? What does the Quran say? What does the Torah say? And we find out that we are all connected and we have the same belief system. And it was very, very powerful, when you connect, when you bring, biblical text into this conversation, everyone is, connected. And as well as we use mindfulness and meditation as a tool of connecting heart to heart. And that's actually the basic techniques that we use. But journaling maybe also be an added value. But yeah, thank you for suggesting it. Thank you.
Yes, Mary Lynn, thank you. Ovidio, you've got your hand up. Go ahead and
Yes. Thank you, Jeff, Zen Peacemakers, and Elias for this opportunity. For me, it's very important periodically to share between Jews and Palestinians. And, for the last 2 years, I think Zen Peacemaker has held 10, 15 different types of meetings to foster a group of people who respect each other, who have dialogue with each other, which is really the only way to build a lasting peace. I am a Brazilian Jew. We are not very many. We are 100,000 Jews in Brazil. I did live in Israel for a year and a half, so I have a special connection. And I'm a friend with Semi Awad. I've been to Bethlehem 3 times. The last time I was together with Roland Wegmiller, who is here, and we visited the new building of the Holy Land Trust, which was very beautiful. Now I met the old one and the new one. And so every morning when I read 10 more Gazans were killed, another day 15 more, I get sick. I had so much suffering. I have to admit that I decided to be present today because today I was ready to share the suffering, which is necessary. This suffering, this shared suffering is the healing process. It's the basic healing process. I participate in the Memorial Day ceremony live once in Israel, and every year I participate online listening. And here where we are in Brazil, unfortunately, our local community of 10,000 Jews where I live is very conservative. So that unfortunately, they don't distinguish between the government of Israel and the Jewish people. It's very sad, but that's the reality. But I want to ask you one thing, because, when we try to do dialogue with Palestinians, and trying to show that both sides are, let's say, victims. There are no villains. We're both victims because it's two people for the same land. Jews usually say, no, they started, the Palestinians, because then in your narrative, what I missed, and that's my question for you, is, Jews will say, when you have a dialogue that doesn't go ahead, Jews will say that the initial partition by the United Nations was for a Jewish state and a Palestinian state, and many Arab countries invaded Israel. And then, the Nakba was a result of the reaction of the Israelis. Disproportionate, probably the same way now the reaction to October 7th is completely disproportional. But, when I listen to narrative, like I listen to you, I miss this jump from the establishment of the state of Israel resulted in the displacement of millions, or not millions, now millions, but thousands, without explaining this part of the Israeli trauma that the United Nations partition was not respected by the Arab states who invaded. So I would like to know, how do you answer to that? Because it will give me tools to talk to the community.
Thank you. Yeah. Do we have an extra 2 hours for that? But nothing, I will try to make it short and briefly. As we all know, before 1948, before 1947, before the partition plan, Jews, Muslim, and Jews and Arab used to live here under the British mandate, equally. There was no separation. But when the Arabs started to feel that there is a huge Jewish immigrants are coming from Europe before the establishment of the State of Israel, the Arabs started to feel there's a threat coming to them from Europe, and there was a plan that they want to establish a state here over our land. And that actually was the reaction of the Arabs, that, the Arabs in that time used to have around, I can't remember the exact number, but I can search it, it's around 85% of the historical Palestine. The Jewish people used to have 15%. And when the UN proposed the partition plan that 45% will be Jews, 45 will be Arab, 55 will be Jews, was rejected for sure, because they said, we are rejecting the plan of having a new Israeli state for all these immigrants who are coming from Europe. They were fine with the indigenous Jew that they are living in Palestine in that time. Because as I said before, they were neighbors living next to each other. And I know some Jewish people living in Israel, they identify themselves as, I am indigenous Jew, I am a Palestinian Jew, because they are not from the immigrant Jew that they came. So when the Arabs felt there was a threat coming to them by the UN, by giving 55% of their land to the Jewish people, they rejected that, and they started labeling the Jewish people as our enemy, our threat. And this is where the trauma of the Palestinians started, of feeling under threat, of losing their land, losing their cities. And when the State of Israel was established 1 year after, it was, totally, that the Arabs totally rejected the Jewish people. And this is why it led us to all the Jewish from Arab countries like Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Egypt, they've been kicked out of their homes as a response to what happened to the Palestinian in 1948. It's not because Arabs, they hate the Jew and Jews, they hate the Arabs, because it was something imposed by, an outsider, which is, the UN and the European, they came and they said, we're going to divide the land. And they had no right for them to decide on that locals. And it was the Jews and the Arabs' decision to decide how they want to live in this land. So that's actually the short answer, but this is how we see it. I agree with you. Like when we do a dialogue, Palestinian and Israeli dialogue program, like I was one of the Palestinian joining a peace program. I was invited in 2010, just 3 years after I joined Holy Land Trust. I got an invitation as Palestinian to join peace program to meet Israelis. And that actually was the first time in my life meeting Israeli, not soldiers. And you cannot guess where was the meeting. It never took place in this land, like never in Bethlehem or Jerusalem, because I'm Palestinian, I cannot go and meet Israeli and they cannot come here. So we had to fly all the way to a small village north of Sweden, in a place called Umeå. We were invited by a Swedish organization to meet over there. We were 4 Palestinian and 4 Israeli. And the discussion in the meeting room was, we are all victims, and we were pointing the fingers. You are wrong, I am wrong. That's actually how the discussion always go. I am right, you are wrong. But then after this meeting, I joined the Healing Trauma program. I got to understand that I'm not into such dialogue meetings. I prefer to go into healing trauma programs where we need to address and when we need to create a safe space for everyone to understand the need of each one without blaming and pointing the fingers. Who's right and who's wrong. We need to come to a decision where we need to respect everybody's right here. And this is actually part of the training we do. We call it the nonlinear leadership, because as a human, we always build our future decision based on our past experience. We look at the past and we blame and we play the victim role and we say, this will never hold. But our training and our capacity training for the team is, how can we look at the past, honor the past, respect the past, but not to stuck in the past. We need to create the possible, how we can make the impossible possible. We need to create the vision that we want for the future from the possibility we have today. And this is actually the technique we use. Because as a Palestinian, I will keep blaming Israel forever. I will be the victim forever. And Israel will be the victim of what happened to them in Europe, and they will keep playing the victim role. And this is actually what our government is doing. They are feeding the fear among us to be separated, that they are feeding us that the Jews are your enemy, the Palestinians are the terrorists, do not meet them. But for us as an organization, we bring a new vision for the community, that how can we build the future from the possibility we have today, based on equal rights, respect, and accepting each other's differences. That's actually my short answer, but I can do.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. And the only last sentence I want to say is that we cannot forget seeing what's happening in the world, that in the Middle East, we have a window, a terrible window of maybe we can call a partial collapse of the Western civilization. The whole situation, the world, and I think Palestine is a very sad window for the rest, which is also, in terrible shape in many situations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ovidio, and Elias, thank you for your answer. So some other time, I would be interested in the 2-hour answer there too. Perhaps another time. Your friend Marcia has her hand up. Marcia, do you want to open your mic?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Thank
I
you.
do. And I want to say hello. I want to say salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I want to say that I am so happy and moved to see you, to be listening to you, and to hear you, Elias. And it's like we've been in contact in one way or another for a couple of years, but I just want to speak to the, really listening to you and understanding your understanding and like the depth of your expressing to us what it is that you have experienced in life and where your understanding of the problem and the possible solutions come from. And it all comes from listening. It's like listening. And I'm so grateful to you for your courage to put into word this truth. And I know that, for me on this side of the world, I've been very involved in looking at how can we support peace? I was very grateful to join Zen Peacemakers for a couple of years at the Auschwitz-Birkenau retreat. And that was sort of my beginning of walking the peace walk. But it's like, it demands a lot of us to be growing in our awareness and our care. And so I brought up, well, of course, we all know and love Sami. And I knew that Sami had joined. I want to bring up a couple of places where this healing dialogue and challenge is going on that people here might be interested to support. Of course, the Holy Land Trust, but Sami also started a program with the Rossing Center for Dialogue in Jerusalem, which is really based on that listening and dialogue, healing hatred, that's where the healing hatred comes from. So there's the Rossing Center, which is doing profound work, along with the Holy Land Trust, which really started it all. And Combatants for Peace, which some people are aware of, the combatants that came from both sides to approach nonviolence and realize that that was not the answer in their lives or the solution for peace. And the parent forum, the parent family forum, which brings families that have Palestinian and Jewish Israeli families that have lost beloveds in this conflict. And I just want to thank you and say that I love you and that I am very, very happy to be connecting in this way. And I wish you all the best in this season and in every season. And I am here to learn more and to touch in with you. Thank you, Elias.
Yeah, I will take this opportunity to thank you for being one of the great supporters of Holy Land Trust in the past few years. Because, like without you and without our friends, we are not here. We cannot exist. We cannot continue the work we're doing. Because that's actually one of the main challenges that we are facing as an organization, that there is no, there is always restricted fund for the organizations. And there's an organization coming with this approach, submitting applications, proposals for big funders, most of it is rejected because it's not fitting their agendas. They want to see more, Israeli-Palestinian business development, high-tech development. But for us, an organization, we don't see this as the time, like it's okay, we support such initiatives, joint Israeli-Palestinian business relationships, but without bringing this topic of healing, how can you build trust? They are just doing it for the sake of maybe money. They want to make their companies bigger. They want to do business investments, but there's still fear. Something will trigger this one day. And we witnessed that in October 7th. This event triggered the fear again among Israeli and Palestinian. And we lost many Israeli friends that they've been triggered by this event, that they don't want to talk to Palestinian anymore. And many Palestinians, they decided, we're not going to talk with Israeli anymore. So now we need to, but this will never break us, it will never stop us of doing what we are doing. We are committed on a personal level. We have a very committed team that we will do it. We continue our work now with the Palestinian community, focusing on empowering the Palestinian community, building resilience, because we believe one day there will be another opportunity that we will come back again and work and continue. So yeah, but I just want to bring it that without our individual donors and givers, we cannot continue. And I want to thank you for your support, and I encourage others as well to take this opportunity to support us, because this is how we function. We always get donations, and we use these donations for our projects to build resilience and hope for Palestinians and for Israelis as well.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Elias. Elias, there is a question from my wise friend, Ellen Maines, in the chat. And Ellen asks, I'd like to know about, and I imagine other people have this question too, opportunities to join a delegation of North American Jews to Israel, Palestine, to help in this vision of mutual respect, healing, and peace, or whatever else might be the best way to assist. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so we have our travel and encounter program where we always recruit delegations to come from the US to join our tours, which we call the fact-finding dual narrative tour, where we bring international to come and visit not only Palestine, but also Israel, to meet Israeli-Palestinian activists, community leaders, going all over the places to really understand what's happening here and to support the local communities. Unfortunately, since October 7th, this program kind of stopped because of, the lack of, travelers and because of the political situation. But hopefully after we end with war, we can continue our program by bringing delegations. So usually we bring groups from America, like we reach out to churches, universities, synagogues. And if you have, if you are an individual, if you are coming by yourself, we can have you here and we can host you and show you around. Tomorrow, as I said, I'm hosting 9 people from the US, from North America, that they are coming They are congressional staffer. They work in the American Congress. Through our partner in the US, the Building Alliance, they recruit a congressional staffer to come in a mission trip. So they would come tomorrow. We're going to take them to, they're already in Jerusalem. They just arrived this afternoon. So they're going to be in Jerusalem. Tomorrow, we're going to go with them to Hebron. Saturday, they will come to Bethlehem. Then Sunday, they will go to Tel Aviv. They're going to meet some Israeli organizations, speakers, and then they will leave. So yeah, you can email us if you're interested to come, and we can maybe find, if there's a delegation that you can join, or if you want to come by yourself or with your family, or if you have a group, maybe the Zen Peacemaker in the US can recruit like a group of 10, 20 people, 50 people, and we will happy to host you here and do this tour for you.
Thank you, Elias. And I put, if everyone can note, I put the URL for Holy Land Trust in the chat. And Elias, I would imagine one of the best ways to stay connected with Holy Land Trust is to sign up for your newsletter. I get your newsletter, so yeah.
Yeah. And here's my email. Unfortunately, our website is under construction, like maybe within 1 week or 10 days, we're going to have the brand new website. So we're going to share it with everyone. But yeah, you can just, here's my email. You can be in touch with me, and I'll be happy. to
Good.
respond.
Well, your website is very good already, so I look forward
Of course.
to what it will be. Friends, we have a few more minutes. I can only imagine some of you might have a question, so feel free. Go ahead and raise your electronic hand if you have anything you'd like to ask or share. Bruce, hi, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Elias, good to see you again and speak with you. Any thoughts, and it may be totally too new and too sudden, about the significant changes in the Syrian country and opportunities for people to develop within their country and relationships with other countries?
Thank you. And that's an important question. I think there's a huge shift is happening in the Middle East, not only in Syria, but in Lebanon, and all over, even in the Gulf area. And I think this shift, I see it, it's very difficult that there's a price, people are paying the price, the victims and the killing and the violence is happening here in Syria and all over countries. But I think this price will come with a very positive change. I think now everybody is very much, longing for peace, and everybody is longing for security and, like a relaxing period. And I think now with this shift in the government in the Middle East will be a time when people and leaders are thinking about a peaceful era where we need to build a relationship based on respect and equality. And I think the shift in Syria now, where people think it's a game, like it was agreed on before with the US and other countries. But I think for us, we see that now there is a shift that the new generation are looking for change, and the new generation are looking for a peaceful time that they will start thinking differently, for a positive way. I don't want to say more about it, but this is how I see it. There is a positive change. Everybody is talking about the normalization agreement with Israel for many years. the Gulf area, in Saudi Arabia, and I think it's happening soon. Something is good, something good is coming. But I think the Palestinian will pay a big price, which is disappointing for Palestinian that they are, as they are looking for a two-state solution where Palestine will not get the full state that we are looking for. There will be no two-state solution, but we have to accept the reality on the ground where Palestinians are totally separated and living in cantons, like Bethlehem now living totally in separation with other cities. But we have to drive through checkpoint. And we have to accept, not we have to accept, but I mean the other reality that the settlement will remain, that is it as part of the state of Israel. So there's no place for the Palestinian dream to have two-state solution. But on the other hand, I think there will be another positive things, there'll be a positive chance that I feel personally there is something positive is coming in the next 2 or 3 years. I don't know if I answered your question, but
Thank you. Thank you. Mary Lynn, it looks like you have your hand again. We have just a few minutes left.
Thank you. I have a question for Elias. Are you Arab Orthodox, Syrian Orthodox, Eastern Catholic? When you get to go into your holy place, where do you worship? Thank you.
thank you. Yeah. So most of the Christians here in the Middle East are either Orthodox or Catholics. These are I belong to the Orthodox Church here. And we have, we celebrate Christmas on January 7th. We have 3 Christmases in Bethlehem. We have the Catholic Christmas on December 25th. Then January 7th is the Orthodox. And then we have the Armenian Christmas on January 18th. So we have several church denominations here, Catholic, Orthodox, Armenian, Syriac, Lutheran, Protestant, Anglican. But we are 1% of the total population. The Christians here are the minority of the minority. No. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Lynn, for your question. Elias. Just a minute or two left here, friends. There's opportunity for maybe one last question if anyone would like. This has been very rich. I really appreciate. Oh, Marcia, is that?
Yeah, I was waiting to give room to someone else, but since no one else raised their hand, I just want to say that there are certain words that I wrote down that you said that really resonate for me. You said healing and trust and healing trust. And you said fear being the kickoff point of what can destroy that and has destroyed that. And then you said, I'm seeing something positive coming in 3 years. And you used the word hope before also. And all of those words together, I'm holding in heart. Thank you.
Yeah, without hope, because I think each individual, each human soul has, purpose in life, and we all have call. So we are not a visitor here. We are here with a purpose, and each one has a mission. And this is actually what gives us hope. That we need, staying silent against the injustice is not, what we should do as a human. We should raise our voice against the injustice. We should take action. And we should put up, have a purpose. Goal. And this is why actually what gives us hope as me personally and as Holy Land Trust family. And by the way, also I want to add, and I want to share that I am a Zen student, a new Zen student. And I'm taking this great path. I think that, you need to have a vision to keep you going, because I don't think, we are not machines here, that we are human with feelings, with body, that we need to respond to the life challenges here in a positive way. And I want also maybe take this opportunity in the last 2 minutes that, thank everyone. And, as the Holy Land Trust, we always used to come and do, fundraising speaking tour in the US. So if you are in the US and you are thinking about, hosting us in a tour, maybe in the next 2-3 months, we're happy to come to the US. And this is actually what one of our plan to come and do speaking to churches, synagogues, universities. We would love you supporting that and hosting us in the US and planning our tour. If we can do it together, Zen Peacemaker. And I encourage everyone to sign up for our newsletter. We send every Tuesday a newsletter about our activities and what we are doing. We are committed to send this to our friends every Tuesday. You might get it Wednesday or Thursday because we're sending it to 17,000 emails. So you'll get it maybe Wednesday or Thursday, not Tuesday.
Okay, thank you so much, Elias. And I think this was so rich and so important. Let's you and I talk another time, and maybe we can repeat in 6 months or something and have you come back and give us an update, and we'll keep doing this for 3 years.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I feel such an affinity with your organization because I hear you talking about sort of your first principle is so similar, if not identical, to what we do with Zen Peacemakers. Bernie Glessman might have talked about not right, not wrong, but one body. And, in Zen, we might say not one, not two, and not zero. But healing, like Marsha was talking about, healing. So our minds tend to go to the polarities or opposites or, this or that, not both. So I just so appreciate your commitment to the one body and healing this one body. So thank you so much. Thank you, all of you, for attending and staying with us, for your comments, for your questions, for your attention, for your love. And we'll see you another time. Thank you very much.